Hey, stay deep, please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon, click on subscribe. It's 100% free. Blood in, blood out. Okay, I've just watched a very fascinating story, one of those particularly good storytellers. I'm going to do some editing to condense it down from 40 minutes to something a lot shorter, just to save us all. But even at full length, it's actually quite interesting. I don't know if people have seen the Tinder Swindler. Well, this is the black Tinder Swindler. Not me. Not me. My honest face. Anyway, so it's a story of a young lady, and actually a very educated black lady. He was swindled out of, I think it's about £1,000. She talks about thousands of pounds. I think she's talking about from other people in addition to her. £1,000 is already too much. The point of this video is it's a very interesting story, and also what can we learn from it? And also, if there's inconsistencies in somebody's story, then that's a key point of suspicion. All these things, key things to learn. Let's go.
Taku's watching Guza, the black Tinder swindler, scammed me and several other black girls out of tens of thousands of pounds. And this is that story, part one. Kutwa initially made contact with me via Instagram. So he jumped in my Instagram DMs, not on a romantic vibe. He was just like many other people that I don't really know, replying to some of my stories. Initially, I was just giving very polite responses, the kinds of responses you would give to someone you don't know. That is until Kutwa said he initially followed me because I went to the University of Cambridge. And he said that he did too. He said he'd studied medicine at the University of Cambridge, and that's how he initially followed me and established contact with me. And at this point I thought, whoa, this is a fellow black person at the University of Cambridge. So this is when I started responding to his messages with a bit more, I suppose, enthusiasm and openness and warmness. So the frequency of messages started to increase quite rapidly, and I got to know him quite a lot. He got to know me quite a lot. And the real shift from Instagram DM pen pals to real life number, email, in person, came from the fact that at this time I decided that I wanted to make a shift from a career in fintech to a career in medicine. And so
one of the things to look for, again, is all the kind of things, oh man, that was a red flag. But also, did she actually meet him and before she gave the money? Again, I've already said before, don't give the money. Don't give the money. But obviously, don't give money to somebody you have never met in life. You know what I mean? Especially if there's inconsistencies in their stories. Just, I don't want to miss anything. Go back a little bit.
To real life, number, email, in person, came from the fact that at this time I decided that I wanted to make a shift from a career in fintech to a career in medicine, and so I was applying for graduate entry medicine, including at the University of Cambridge. Takutwa being a medical graduate.
That's the key thing as well. So one of the reasons why she kind of stuck with him was because she felt that he could open a door for her. That's not unreasonable, but that's something to keep at the back of your mind. Again, so yeah.
From the University of Cambridge, and an established doctor, as he posed himself to be, was kind of playing a really supportive role in this career transition. That's just to give you a basis on how I got to know Takutwa and how we built a friendship in the first place. So looking back at establishing this friendship with me, I realized Takutwa essentially had three main goals. One, he portrayed himself as someone who was very, very rich, wealthy, and successful. Two, understand and know my character so that he could mold his character to be a really compatible friend. Three, he simply wanted to suss out whether I had any spare money that he could scam out with me. But just to bullet point a few facts about what Takutwa told me he was. So he told me he was a New York born, privately educated, spoiled rich kid essentially that got bullied for being and sounding posh. Tried to claim that he had a very British posh accent because he went to a British private boarding school. He had an African accent anyway. So he
New York born, British, bullied for having a British accent, and on the other side, he did not have a British accent. Okay.
He said that he currently works for the hospital, Adam Brooks Hospital, which every Cambridge student knows this hospital because it's the main affiliate hospital of the Cambridge University Medical School. That his mother was still living in the US.
Just a second. Read those images. We couldn't see closely. If there was anything about those images which was a little bit off key. We're going to give her the benefit of the doubt that he was actually in those medical rooms with those kind of gowns on, and it just wasn't obvious that it had been like kind of photoshopped or something. And the reason why I'm going to say that now, I'm going to give away something a little bit in the future, is because his degree was not medical, it was in IT. But anyway, let's go forward.
Kind of a high-flying surgeon. Among the things that he would tell me, it would be very evident from his Instagram stories that he was a frequent flyer, always flew business class, always at these exclusive events, things like attending the F1. And in terms of getting to know me, he invested a lot of time, months and months and months and months, picking up things that I would like in another person in order to build a really strong friendship. In addition to all the bullshit he told me, he also told me that he adopted 6 children in South Africa, that these children were HIV positive and orphans. He told me that he was buying a Tesla Model X. This was after discovering that Tesla Model X is essentially my dream car. And then he would really home in on this shared love of traveling. I traveled a lot during this time. I was out here, I was outside. And then in terms of kind of sussing me,
I'm not quite sure what any of that has got to do with anything. What's it got to do with the fact that he was wealthy? What's it got to do with the fact that he adopted these kids? I know, yeah, fair enough, it's based in dishonesty, but why did you lend him the money? Why did you lend him the money? Is it that, I guess that's something that convinced you to lend him the money or something like that? But again, listen, core principle, remember core principle.
And really figuring out what I might have to offer him. He would ask like very straight to the point questions. Quite early on now I think about it, what I do for work, how I get to travel so much, what car I was buying and what car I had, and did my parents buy me this car, did I use my own money, what car my sister was getting for 18th birthday, and just really trying to find out like what's your financial status essentially. So right now I've basically told you this is what he said about himself, this is why we built a friendship.
So sorry to keep stopping it, but I've got to jump in there because as a man, how often do they try and suss you out in terms of your financial resources? Oh, well, what job do you do? Oh, whereabouts do you live? Oh, whereabouts do you drive? Oh, where do you last go on holiday? I'm not saying that all of those messages, I'm not saying that all those questions were sus, but at least some of them are. And it's kind of innocent in the one sense, but you know what I mean? I think guys know when somebody's trying to suss you out and trying to work out how much money you got in your pockets. But anyway, let's go.
But I haven't really spoken about what he did to build the trust before launching the scam. I was applying for medicine and he had done medicine at the University of Cambridge and was an established doctor, yada, yada, yada. A lot of the trust and I suppose like building of this friendship came through that very thing. We would meet up for coffees, for lunches, for dinners, and we would speak about my application. And he really solidified this friendship by trying to...
That does answer the question. Okay, so at least you had met up for the coffees and the dinners. So yeah, she didn't literally kind of give this money to somebody online. That's a good thing at least. So and to be fair, I know what comes up later in the story. Yeah, she did ask him about well, he did promise to buy something on her behalf and she gave him the money for it, and fair enough.
Offer as much help as possible in some key ways. So he offered to send his personal statement. I will get back to this. The big one, the really big one, which was actually an integral part to my application, was offering me an internship with him at Adam Brooks Hospital. At this stage, he's kind of got me in a position where I am reliant on him. When I think back, this was such a flawed process. Let's get back to that personal statement. The personal statement he sent me was absolute garbage. It was laughable. I still have it in my emails. In fact, I have it on my laptop screen right in front of me right now. At the time, I just thought he applied as an 18-year-old kid. Perhaps this personal statement just looks like crap because he was an 18-year-old kid. Every time we did discuss medicine and the application and all of these stuff, he was very, very, very vague. At the time, this was simply not something I could pick up on because I had not done medicine. I was not a doctor. I am a qualified doctor now. And my good God, this internship was a big one. This is a whole story in of itself. Basically got to the point where it was the day where I was starting my internship with him. He promised to pick me up from North London to Cambridge. And when it came time, he was ghost. And I was ringing. I got a call on a private number and they left a voicemail. It was a female voice. So I got a call. The line sounded very clear. It didn't sound like this person was in a casual place or was outside or anything like that. The woman explained that she was calling from a secretary office at Adam Brooks Hospital and was calling to inform me that Dr. Takutswa Chinguza is in an emergency operation and is unable to answer his phone. Everyone watching this is probably so much smarter than I was at the time. Didn't have a good stomach feeling about this, but I also just couldn't fathom that this could all be a big plot that was part of something else, which, my good God, wait for a few parts and we'll have a good stomach feeling about this. But I also
pause
just
that little
fathom
thing that she put up.
This could all be a big...
Remember, at this stage we are months into the friendship and he has not asked me for anything. Fair enough. Let's go.
Plot that was part of something else, which, my good God, wait for a few parts and we'll get to it. But I just didn't pick up on the fact that this was BS, essentially, like, long story short. And I just thought, I'm a bit bummed. But he was very, very, very apologetic, very professional about it and everything. And I was cool, I understood, I had to understand. He was saving someone's life. Rescheduling with him became quite difficult. Doing this internship was so important and integral to my application that I couldn't rely on an unreliable source to make or break my application, but just said to him, do you know what, you're busy, don't worry about it, I'll figure out another way. I gave my sister a call. She essentially called one of her friends who's a director at another hospital who gave me an internship for medicine. So that was all good. Everything between Takutwa and I was all blessed because
You know what I was just about to say. Oh my gosh, man, her kind of whole academic and professional career was nearly hinging on this scam artist. You know what I mean? It's obviously awful. Then on the other hand, it's like, oh well, actually, I spoke to somebody I know and who kind of like just smoothed the track in there, and it was a guaranteed kind of progression into a career, which I also don't think is exactly great. I mean, she seems very smart, you know what I mean, and dedicated. And Cambridge doesn't just accept, random nobodies, but you know what I mean. Just I believe in just applying through the process and not asking for any favors or anybody to unfairly hold you back, and just going for it. So that's how it should be. Now, if I was in a situation, would I do the same? Damn right, I would. Anyway, let's go.
got to do an internship anyway, so no harsh feelings. I suppose we moved on from this. So at this stage, friendship is in good standing. So now Mr. Takutwa Chinguza feels comfortable enough to launch his scams. I'm finally going to talk. In this part, I'm going to explain how he finally launched his scams. There are three main ways that Takutwa Chinguza received money. Number one, he makes it seem like he's making a beneficial trade with you. Number two, apparent generosity on his part. Or number three, simple cry for help. In all of him getting to know me, he was really careful to suss out the things that I would purchase or need in the immediate future. He knew that I was looking for my next holiday. You know, I had the travel bag. I was always trying to move around. I settled on wanting to go to Maldives. Takutwa, who came in saying, I have a lot of air miles with Emirates, why don't you purchase a ticket from me so that you can fly to Maldives and back for £640. So I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Before I knew it, Takutwa Chinguza had already sent me a confirmation email of the booking with Emirates. At this point, I felt like, oh my God, I'm indebted to him. He's now £640 down because I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, very frivolously. I better send him that money like ASAP. So I had the confirmation in my email after all. I had a confirmation from Emirates saying that I had a ticket booked. I saw him travel on his stories almost every single week. And so it didn't seem crazy that he had an excess of air miles. He offered my mum the same to go to her dead mother's funeral in Ghana. Thank God my mum said, first of all, why am I buying a ticket of a little child? And second of all, I'm flying direct to Ghana with BA. What do you mean? Stop over in Dubai. But we will come to how sick and twisted this offering was when we talk about how I uncovered the scam. So I was buying a MacBook laptop in the very near future. And so he mentioned that him kind of being affiliated with the University of Cambridge meant that he gets discounts with Apple. I mean, you can argue whether or not something like this makes sense to you. I remember when he said this, and I was thinking back to a supervision I had when I was studying natural sciences at the University of Cambridge. And I remember my supervisor getting a new MacBook and opening it during our supervision, explaining to us that he gotten this essentially from the university because he's a supervisor at the university. So then it didn't seem crazy to me that Takutwa, who's mentioned several times that he has an affiliation with the university through teaching medical students, receives discounts on MacBooks. So I sent him £400 for the MacBook, easy peasy, didn't have any question in my mind whether this would be true or false. And mind you, all of this was in very, very quick succession. So he's on a trip to Singapore, so when he lands, he'll be able to, give me the MacBook. On his way back from Singapore, he gets stuck in an airport with credit card and debit card issues, and he essentially does his first cry for help. On my credit card, on my debit card, I need £200 to get myself out of this airport. Like, it's a crisis, it's a crisis. He expressed that he was really, really embarrassed to ask for this money, and it had nothing to do with financial issues, but all the things to do with like his credit card or debit card not working in that particular airport or something. And so what is £200 for someone who can then come through the airport, get back to you?
You know what? to be fair to the girl, as I say, it's not just somebody you've just met. She wasn't lending him anything at all. He said he could get something for her. In every situation where you give anybody a lump sum of money, regardless of how long you've known them, there is a gamble. But at least as minimum, if the whole reason why you're handing it over is to buy something, then that's not lending it, is it? So that's fair enough. And then he gives the story in the instant that he needs £200, and I don't know the entire story about why he needed that money, but at the same time, I don't think £200 is a lot of money to this woman. It's a decent amount of money, but it's not going to kill anybody. It's not going to hold her back. I guess it's just more principle, and obviously she deserves to have her money back. Whether it was a lot less than that, it could be £2 or £1 or 20 pence. You've got to have your money back. Don't get me wrong, but long story short, I think, in summary, that the context of why she gave that money was actually reasonable. To be honest, I would need to know more detail about how long it was between the last time that she saw him in a face-to-face, and how their dialogue had gone, and whether they're just kind of loose friends at that point. He already fell through on that kind of doctor's, no, the internship recommendation, and he was a top guy to do an internship, right? That's what she said. So that would have been easy. But I guess you can look at it and say, well, he may well still be legit. He just didn't want to do it because he was busy, always busy. Still, if somebody is that senior, you just think, listen, they don't have an issue with money. Anyway, let's crack on.
And transfer it to me as soon as they get back to the UK. And now he makes it over the border into the UK. And at this point is now when time starts ticking. I'm now like, where is my MacBook? And when are you transferring me this £200? I'm still not thinking about the tickets because that's in a distant future. These questions is essentially what got me to start to uncover Takutwa Chinguza. So in a previous part, I discussed how one of his scam tactics is apparent generosity. And this is a scam he used on someone I'm going to call Michelle. Takutwa, with me, was using this as a way to kind of build trust. With Michelle, was essentially getting £10,800. Takutwa would always start to confide in me about the fact that he felt like he was being used by friends that he had, being essentially used for his money. That people would take, and never really give to him. And I would always, kind of comfort him and say, you have to use your discernment, whether people are really using you or whether it's a real friendship, yada, yada, yada. He sent me a screenshot of that conversation where Michelle was basically asking whether Takutwa would be willing to pay £10,800 to pay off her uni fees that she would then pay back to him in installments. And he formed an agreement with her to say overall he's going to put some interest on it because he's going to lose out on interest, so that she in total would be paying him £12,500 in installments, and he would pay off the uni fees for her in that moment so that she was then able to graduate. This is after months of talking about how he's being used by people, asking me for my opinion on this. And he gave me a few bullet point facts about this friendship that he had. He said that she had taken quite a lot from him, that she wanted to graduate and wouldn't be able to graduate if he didn't pay this for her, but that she was also leaving and moving to Africa the day after, and so there was no real way to physically stay in touch with her, but he would just have to blindly trust that she would transfer him the money back. And my advice was, it sounds like a no-brainer, it sounds too risky, he'd lose that money. And he spoke about, you know what, you're so intelligent, you're so clever, you've got such good discernment, I'm going to ask for PayPal for a refund of my money of £10,800. So we had now had a conversation where he was telling me that his mum was even furious about the fact that he paid this £10,800, and he sent me a screenshot of the fact that he asked PayPal for a refund. Remember this for a later part of the story. But mind you, what he did not send was a screenshot between him and Michelle having a conversation about the fact that he asked for this refund. So at this point in time, Michelle's under the impression that university fees are paid and she's going to continue paying Takutwa Chinguza in installments until she's paid him £12,800 as quickly as possible, and she doesn't know that he's asked for a refund, basically. But we'll talk about this. So why did Takutwa involve me in this kind of side plot of his scam? I think for two reasons. One, to even build further trust with me, and for two, also I think to show that he basically had £10,800 spare to frivolously spend and then change his mind on, to kind of solidify this image of having excess money and not needing money from other people is the key point about this. I'm now his trusted friend whose opinion he's trusting to guide him to not be used by people. But what about the trust between me and him? Because the MacBook, the flights, the £200. So I've just told you about how I've transferred him £640, £400 and £200, and how at this point, essentially, he has paid £10,800 that he's requested a refund for someone else, but they are paying him £12,500 in total in installments. So where is my MacBook? Where's the £200 that you needed when you were stuck in the airport? This is when the crux of the scam finally started to show. And the same excuses, being busy at work, manual evacuation. He would always have a manual evacuation, which, by the way, if you're not medical, it basically means scraping poop out of someone's digestive system manually with your hands, and always quoting that he wasn't feeling well because of the manual evacuation and emergency surgery and flying to South Africa to help poor children do surgeries free, and all of the excuses in the world, but not able to transfer me my £200 and not able to give him a Mac. So at this point, I started to apply pressure. I started to really I wasn't engaging in normal conversation anymore. The conversation was simply, where's my MacBook? Where's my £200? And then in the midst of these excuses, he went, I'm really, really, really sorry. I'm just so busy with work. Here is my ID. He sent me a photo of his driver's license and said, this is my address. This is my full name. I'm so sorry. I'm just super busy. Please just trust me. He said, this is my full address in the message that he sent with the ID. You don't even have to be that keen-eyed. You can see that he's covering his address with his thumb. And so he's told me his address, but I can't verify that according to the ID, and this is something we will come back to. At this stage, it's taking long. He sent me his ID. It's bought him another day or two of me calming down, but then I start to amp back up. And now I'm really getting mad, and I'm saying, after work today, I am driving to your house and I'm getting this MacBook myself. So I will meet you at your home. He sees the message, he blue ticks the message, he doesn't say a word. The moment work ended, I got in my car, drove down the M11 from London to Cambridge, and went to the address he told me he lived at. I could see the tail end of the address on the other side of its stamp. So I drove, I parked, I got out of the car, I knocked on the door. A white woman answers the door, looks me up and down and says, I'm guessing Takutwa owes you a MacBook or something like that. My jaw drops. So many things are clicking at this point. I realize I'm not the only one that's knocked on this woman's door. Oh no, 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 no. This is a common occurrence for her. She's had people who look like me knock on her door for promises that Takutwa has made. And this is where the story gets insane. In fact, I can't even record it today. The police gets involved. Bomber jackets, big boys in bomber jackets get involved. Letters get involved, court cases get involved. I'm gonna have to record this another day. This is how I discovered that.
Okay, yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna break this into probably 3 parts, maybe 2 parts, but it looks like it's gonna be a 3-parter. Just look, we're 18 minutes. Well, actually, about halfway through. With my editing, I'm not quite sure how long it's gonna be. I just want it to be manageable chunks. I'll be happy if it's 2 parts, but maybe it's gonna be 3. Right, so she's met this guy online. They've gone for a few dinners. He is said that he was a top end doctor, like the literal top end doctor, who's got the interns below him. And at that stage, she would have been an intern. I mean, I don't know how old he was in relation to her. And also, again, those photos that he put with him in the what they call it again, in the scrubs, I think it's called, like the operation kind of clothing, the sanitizer, you know what I mean, the blue. Anyway, all that stuff in those 2 photos. I don't know how real those photos looked. You know, we didn't get a good look about it. Anyway, so at some point he said he could get her this MacBook Pro, everything that she just said basically, and she gave him the money on good faith. Didn't work out. Very soon after that, £200 because he was in Shanghai or something like that. Some other money that you needed on top of that as well. And I can understand the money for the MacBook to an extent. I mean, I would never do it though. I mean, I've never done it. Of course, I never do. I've never handed over that kind of money to somebody I don't know. You know, we're Caribbean. You know what I mean? So we've been burned too often to get burnt like that again. You know what I mean? As a community, and money's precious. A lot of the time, so I'm not saying it never happens, but I just think we're a bit more kind of suspicious in general, but obviously not everybody. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. If I've known somebody for 4 or 5 months, would I be trying? It depends on how much money she thought she was going to save on this MacBook. You know what I mean? I don't think those are that cheap. If it's £2,000 and she said she get handed in £400, as I think they're about that kind of money, or even if it's £1,000 and she can get it for 400, then you know, come on. Anyway, I don't want to read too much into her. She's obviously stunning. Oh my gosh. And very smart. We could always be kind of clever in hindsight, but yeah, in any situation, the money that you hand over, you'll be kind of wary that they're not going to follow through, and you just got to be ready for it as well. So if he's got so much money, I don't know if you give him more than money in up front. Try and cover yourself. Basically, don't lend money. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. And yeah, just try and minimise your exposure as much as you can, financial exposure, obviously. Please like, subscribe. It's exciting, isn't it? We've got the exciting, juicy parts to come up. So please like, subscribe. That is Steve, and I am out.